G'day nerds, I'm AJ, a teacher and wannabe game dev living and working in one of the most remote and unforgiving places on the planet. I've recently embarked on a journey to create the ultimate Aussie survival game. And to make it as authentic as possible, I am testing every tip, trick and tucker I come across before adding them to the game. Eucalyptus.
But in this, our very first episode in the series, I will introduce you to the project and quickly take you through the prototype I've built to test some of the core game mechanics that I want to implement.
The star of many a yarn on this channel, Bazza, is being sent on yet another adventure, and this is the biggest one yet. He is heading where names and reputations have been made and lives and fortunes lost are plenty. Ludwig Leichhardt, Robert O'Hara Burke, and someone or other Wills, to name just a few, but now, Bazza! But this isn't, however, about Bazza dominating the landscape with weaponry and walls like many a survival game. No. This is about understanding the country and applying a little bit of survival science. No one survives out here running around with swords or guns or forts. Hell, Leichhardt, who I mentioned earlier, when he passed through this area and named the Nicholson River on which I now live, well, his destination was Fort Essington, one of several attempts by the British to create a fort up around this northern Australian area in the early 19th century. Fort Essington was set up in 1838. Leichhardt reached it from the east on December 17th, 1845. It was abandoned, however, in 1849. More than 50 deaths from malaria, dysentery, malnutrition, and more. Our game is all about Bazza learning to understand the land, and we'll focus on the enormous swings in climate around here that can cause periods of isolation lasting up to 5 or 6 months at a time. Bazza will need to be able to understand and navigate how these massive shifts impact the availability of water, of food, of resources, and shelter.
You know, just like Bazza has a lot to learn to survive out here in the Aussie Outback, I have a lot to learn about programming if I am going to make the greatest survival game of all time. And that's why for this series, I'm partnering with Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. I've been using Brilliant to get better at Python because GD Script, the native scripting language in the Godot Game Engine, was made to be very similar to Python. So by working to improve my Python programming skills, I'm giving myself the best chance possible to make the greatest survival game of all time. With my educational neuroscience hat on, I can see how Brilliant uses the best practices from current research to make learning more effective. Their hands-on problem-solving approach is proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Using streaks, league tables, XP points, and other gamification concepts, learning with Brilliant can compete with scrolling on social media for your brain's attention because it triggers the same dopamine responses. Same good vibes, but you get smarter too.
I'm truly grateful to Brilliant for sponsoring the Outback Nerd. And if you want to try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Outback Nerd, or click on the link in the description or the QR code over here. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Why don't we now jump on in and have a look at this legend in the making.
The seasons are the most dominant fact of life here in the Gulf, and so were the cornerstone I wanted to build the game around. If I could work out a way to represent the variability of weather and season and how those variables changing can lead to longer or shorter wet seasons,
impacting food and water, etc., then I felt that I would be on the right track. So that's where I started. And here is a drastically sped up version. So you see how the tile map is impacted by the amount of rain received in the preceding 90 days and all that, but I'll get into those details soon. When I started building the prototype, I initially was just expanding out my global script. It started live just tracking my player position, but before no time had passed, it started looking like this. My initial thought was to split the seasons and weather out of the global script and into a script of their own, but even that very quickly I thought would get a bit too cumbersome. So first I split out the calendar function. So we have a time that's attached to delta, and this gives us the ability to determine if it's day or night and what day of the year it is. We then set up the date ranges we want for the season. So now we have a time and a date system. For the weather script, I grabbed the current season from the calendar that we just made. Then depending on the season, we have some differing chances of rain, different temperature ranges, and soon some humidity as well. To represent all of this, I'm playing around with our tile maps and collisions. So I've set up 3 different tile maps depending upon the amount of rain that's been received, and that then changes things like the available resources, whether areas are accessible or not depending on water and things like that. Now for the cutest part of the devlog, my dog Meadow is a feature of this game. When I was out with my drone recently, I noticed Meadow had a series of states that she seemed to operate in. So I decided this was the perfect chance to use a finite state machine. And if you want a full rundown on how I did that, check out this video here. The eagle-eyed among you likely noticed I'm having a go at this in Godot 4.3 beta, so I don't end up with a broken tile map code when the 4.2 nodes are deprecated. If you want to know more about the changes coming in Godot 4.3, check out this playlist. If you've stuck with me this far, thank you. This video was a bit different for me, and I would love your feedback on how I can improve and what you liked so I can make the next one even better. If you want to learn how to make a game like this one, well, check out this video to make a basic ARPG like it in just 1 hour. I will be releasing tutorials like this one, making a pet using an FSM regularly, so you can learn the concepts I am learning as I go along and build your own version of the game. Now, I am genuinely keen for advice and feedback on this prototype thus far. If you think you know a better way to handle the seasons and tile maps and all that jazz, please let me know. I am genuinely open-minded to advice and helpful criticism. I've put the game in its current state up on itch, so have a play and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments below. Share it with your mates, and if you are making a game and have a devlog all of your own, why not tell me about it so I can check out how you are going. Don't forget to check out brilliant.org/outbacknerd to get your 30-day free trial and your 20% off an annual subscription. So thank you, and I hope you learned something.